What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Jericho Report Weekly News Briefing. It is Sunday, the 26th of July, 2015. As always, the first link below will take you to the Blogspot post. That's where you can find all this week's madness. Another week, another theater shooting. Lafayette, Louisiana. A theater shooter bought gun legally, police say. Apparently, lone nutbag goes into a movie theater, shoots the place up. Real event, false flag. You know, it sucks. We can't trust anything the TV's telling us. I have no way of knowing. Of course, if it was a real event, my thoughts go out to the people affected. A gun-free zone, so no one else in this movie theater has a gun to take the shooter down. I'll put a link to the main story. I'll give you a second link from AP. Movie theater shooters' mental problems didn't stop him from buying a gun. Should mental health be reevaluated when it comes to gun rights? Perhaps, but, you know, the scary thing about that is who decides who's mentally ill? Some people are obviously mentally ill. And then there's other people, you know, if you speak out against the federal government at all, you'd probably be considered mentally ill. You're at least a potential domestic terrorist. So when we start putting labels on the Second Amendment, I mean, how far, you know, we're getting into some real gray area there. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'll give you this link from the AP. Now check this out. Just the day before, Obama admits U.S. gun laws are his biggest frustration. This from BBC. So we got Obama talking about frustration about gun laws one day before another mass shooting in a movie theater. You tell me. Oklahoma police, you know, maybe Obama, we should start, you know, reevaluating knives. Oklahoma police scour social media for clues to stabbings. Apparently, this guy stabbed his whole family. Oklahoma police Friday scoured social media for clues the motive teenager accused of stabbing to death his parents and 3 siblings. So, are we going to ban knives now because some nutbag went and stabbed his whole family? I'll put a link to this from Hawaii News Now. Speaking of gun violence, let's talk about gun-free zones. Doesn't Chicago have some of the tightest gun laws in the nation? You people in Chicago, do I got that right? Look at this. 7 dead, 35 wounded in shootings over the weekend in Chicago. This article posted July 20, 2015. Rahm Emanuel is doing such a bang-up job, his city has just turned into a massive gun violence. And do you think any of those guns were bought legally? So is more gun control going to help the situation? Other stuff going on. Civilian guards ordered to leave shopping center after one accidentally fires his rifle. You know, a moron or maybe a government agent put out there to by the federal government maybe to say we don't want civilians guarding the military. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Other news going on. We got another dead doctor, holistic cancer treatment doctor, suddenly dies. I don't know. Natural News is putting that out. Meanwhile, I got another one. MD found murdered inside Florida home today. This makes 6 in 30 days. 5 still missing. This July 21 from Health Nut News. What's up with all these doctors going missing? Obama returns to his homeland of Kenya. You heard that right. At least that's the way I'm reading it. Reunites with his father's family. July 24 from Hawaii News Now. One more in the general bin. Be advised if you drive a Chrysler. Chrysler recalls 1.4 million vehicles to prevent hacking. Apparently some guys hacked a Chrysler Jeep or something and drove it off the road. Something weird going on. I don't know. You know, cash for clunkers? Was it really about getting old cars off the road or just putting new computerized cars that are susceptible to EMP and everything else? Apparently people can hack into them and steer them and, you know, lock up the transmission, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, other news, financial news, how the Dow Jones Industrial Average fared on Friday. Looks like the Dow was down 163. For the week, the Dow was down 517 points. What happened? I thought we figured out Greece and everything. I don't know. I got some more links. Gold falls to lowest level in 5 years on dollar strength. Dollar strength, huh? What are you smoking in that crack pipe? Applications for U.S. unemployment aid plummet to 42-year low. Is that because people have just given up altogether? Or is it a jobless recovery? SHTFplan.com has this shock report. China dumps $500 billion. Something is very, very wrong. This July 22nd, 2015. $500 billion. AP puts this out. Medicaid enrollment surges, stirs worry about state budgets. More and more people on Medicaid, but, you know, there's no more unemployment. What? Nothing makes any sense. I got a couple more here for you. Speaking of nothing making any sense, this makes perfect sense. Report says Social Security Disability Fund to run dry next year. Be advised, if you get Social Security Disability, you want to know about that story right there. They're just milking, the powers that be are just milking this country for everything, and it's going to be like Goodfellas in the end. They're just going to burn the joint out when they're done. FCC Chairman recommends okay for $48.5 billion AT&T DirecTV deal. I guess AT&T and DirecTV, further consolidation of big companies. I got one more in the financial bin. Be advised, insurers refuse to cover older vehicles. I don't know if this is in the U.S. or somewhere else in the world. Apparently, they're saying these cars are too old and they're breaking down, and we just won't cover them because they're a hazard. Are they a hazard, or you just want to get all the old cars off the road? Because, you know, if insurers won't insure them, then you can't legally drive them. Why on earth would they do that? Well, if you remember back to the TV show Jericho, you know, after the nuclear bomb and subsequent EMP, none of the newer cars would work anymore because everything's computerized. The only thing they had there is like old trucks and Chevy Novas and stuff like that. So, you know, take away the people's ability to transportation themselves. That doesn't make any sense. Transport themselves, you know, and they have to depend on the government after this an EMP goes off. I mean, if this is going to happen, I have no idea. But, you know, cash for clunkers? Was it about getting, you know, more fuel-efficient cars on the road, or making sure everybody is just, you know, at the government's whatever? Over to New World Order Police State News. Man hogtied in southern Massachusetts by Southern Massachusetts police before dying. Put a link to this. Check out the video on that. They hogtied the guy. Now he's dead. Investigation finished in police shooting in Cincinnati traffic stop. I think Cincinnati police shot and killed somebody when they pulled somebody over. Put a link to that from CNN. And speaking of being pulled over, Sandra Bland autopsy finds no injuries consistent with violent homicide. The lady that supposedly hung herself down in the jail cell, well, they say, well, that's the official story now. She committed suicide. I find it hard to believe, although it does say she had some depression problems and attempted suicide stuff in the past. She killed herself over a turn signal. Did she really have to be arrested over not using her turn signal? She's arrested for not using a turn signal. Now she's dead. I mean, this country is just absurd. Hawaii News Now. City Council Committee approves settlement in police brutality lawsuit. I guess out of Hawaii. That's the third week in a row we've had a settlement. Of course, the police department's no wrongdoing. They're not admitting anything. Obama takes sick revenge on gun store owner who dared to ban Muslims. I think that happened down in Florida, did it not? I'll put this link from Conservative Tribune. His right to reserve who he wants to sell guns to. Obama changes oath of allegiance for new Americans. Takes out pledge to defend the USA. I don't know about this. This is some right-wing news. Put a link to that. Certainly would not surprise me. Daily Mail comes out with this. Texas threatens to cover land with pig blood to block Muslim cemetery 25 miles from site of Muhammad cartoon shooting. I hear Charlie Hebdo is no longer going to be printing, what do they call him? Whoever that guy is that offends those guys, whatever. Seattle mayor proposes, you know, just how the United States is changing. Seattle mayor proposes offering Sharia law compliant home loans for Muslims. I am not making this up. This stuff's coming in here, folks. I got a couple more here. While all this stuff's going on in the background, we get another theater shooting to tie up the media. Nobody knows what's going on here. Update number 2, U.S. House passes anti-GMO labeling bill. They're saying they're not going to be allowed to label GMOs. What are they trying to hide, I ask you? Put a link to that. And one more at the bottom. Former General Wesley Clark. You know, speaking of the government deeming everyone mentally ill for not agreeing with the federal government, they could just, you know, if they just point at you and say, oh, you're a terrorist. We don't like what you're saying. You're just a potential terrorist. Look at this. Look at this. An alert. Former General Wesley Clark calls for sending radicalized Americans to concentration camps. I'm not making this shit up. I'll put a link to this if you don't like my link. Google it. It's all over the place. What exactly is a radicalized American? Someone who doesn't agree with the government? Oh, there are some radicals out there. You know, the Durka comes over here and thinks they're going to shoot the place up. But when we start rounding people up into concentration camps, where does that lead, folks? What does history tell us about that kind of thing? And I'm sorry for getting a little wound up. I'm sorry for getting a little loud. But we have been warning people about this crap for years. And we told you, under the right pretexts, the people will demand that you do this. And that's what we're seeing. The continuous psychological operation on the people to think that we need to start concentration camps in this country. Over to World War III news. Kerry calls talk of better Iran deal a fantasy. I watched some of his blah, blah, blah this week, whatever. Meanwhile, Breitbart puts out exclusive Sarah Palin to Congress. Stop the madness of Obama's surrender to Iran. Indeed, put a link to that. Weird when I find myself agreeing with her. U.S. and Cuba restore full diplomatic ties after 5 decades. Good news, bad news, I don't know, from the AP. But politician says U.S. and Russian oligarchs conspiring to remove Putin. Remove Putin within 2 years. You know, I do believe Putin would be crazy enough to push the nuclear weapon button. What do you think? Pentagon says senior Al-Qaeda leader killed in drone strike. This from the Los Angeles Times on July 26th. Put a link to that. Meanwhile, Did you see this crap? FBI head says Khorasan group dismantled. ISIS, or the Durka Durka, bigger threat than Al-Qaeda. So now the Durka Durka is even bigger than the first Durka Durka. So do we expect something more grand than 9/11? Maybe Jericho, Blackjack? I don't know. What are they trying to tell us here? CNN Politics, put a link to it. Turkey launches second raid on ISIS in Syria. Put a link to this from Sky News. I hear Turkey's now letting us use their air bases to run, to bomb Syria and so-called Durka Durka. One more in the World War III, Ben. Be advised, MI5 and British defense sources say ISIS will bomb football games with drones. And people used to call me a fearmonger years ago. You got the MI5 coming out talking about they're going to allow Durka Durka and Allah Akbar the football game. That's just great. Over to earth changes. So 2012 news now. 4.2 out of California, 4.0 out of California. A lot of small quakes going on in California. You got a 7.0 at the Solomon Islands. That was back on 7/18. I'll put a link to the USGS. Big quakes on the left, small quakes on the right, a lot of small quakes. There's a 6.0 over in the small quakes. They must have that mixed up out of Indonesia. I'll put a link to that. A lot more talk of this supposed West Coast earthquake going to happen. Be advised. FEMA official warns everything west of Interstate 5 will be lost in massive natural disaster coming. Remember, who was it? Janet Napolitano? Wasn't she the one that warned us about some sort of catastrophe that's coming? Here's one from the IntelliHub, July 19. Look at the way these people are talking. They know something's going to happen. We got heading toward an EMP catastrophe. Check it out. Here's an article talking about an EMP might be headed off. This is like 2012 stuff all over again, 2015. Who knew? Weather Channel puts us out. Record strong El Nino ahead, question mark. I think that says El Nino. July 17, 2015. Be advised. Fukushima news. TEPCO finally admits to irregular sinking in Fukushima plant. Japan as a whole is sinking. It's called liquefaction. Google it. Get the hell out of Japan while you can. Unplanned shutdown and elevated radioactive levels at Ameren, Missouri, Callaway nuclear reactor number 1. Really? I'll put a link to this, July 23rd, from the Missouri Times. What up with that? Stephen Hawking says we should... Stephen Hawking helps launch massive search for E.T. E.T. I heard they found another Earth. I think I have a link on that. Yeah, the last link in the Earth Change has been 10 facts about the new second Earth planet, Kepler 452b. Apparently an Earth that has a sun. Over to strange and bizarre news, warning some adult content coming up. We got man discovers burglar living under daughter's bed for days after he broke in. Okay, we got bear snags 20 pounds of dog food, enters food coma on man's lawn. Where'd this happen? Out of somewhere in Florida. Bear, hey, he's got to take a nap. Atomic wedgie killer sentenced to 30 years in prison. This from Y News Now. Apparently he gave somebody a wedgie, killed him. Now he's going for 30. SUV backs over woman unloading groceries. Apparently it slipped out of gear. Was it hacked? I think we should ban automobiles because they're running people over. I think that happened out of Miami County somewhere. Put a link to it. Woman, look at this. Wyoming man found with 30... This is graphic now. You might want to turn your speakers down. You got kids around. I got to report it, though, because it's strange and bizarre news. Wyoming man found with 30 eyeballs in his anal cavity. I hope this is just a hoax story. I'll put a link to it. You guys can look into it if you want. I'm not looking any further into that one. Meanwhile, Florida man ordered by city to keep barbecue smell from leaving his property. What? How exactly do you do that? Again, I hope that's a hoax story. If not, that's ridiculous. AOL puts this out. Body found of man connected to missing woman believed to be human/alien hybrid. Huh? July 23rd, the Anunnaki coming back for the gold. Blacklisted news, I got one more. The T-1000 is coming. Revolutionary 3D printing grows objects from a pool of liquid. But then again, maybe AI has already happened. I mean, can you prove that we're not all plugged into the Matrix right now? I can't. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, for all the news, please check my favorite videos. I have favorited tons of videos this week. Thank you to everybody who puts out content, all kinds of fresh stuff over there. Definitely pull it up, scan over the titles, see if there's anything I know about. I got some shout-outs this week. News Anchor 22 unleashes viral rant on Obama. You got to pull this up. I think this is One American News, which we have on ATTUverse. I'm not sure if everybody has this channel, but if you don't have a One American News, call your cable or satellite provider and get it, because it is much better than watching CNN or Fox News. And check out her rant. Big shout out to her. That from WND. We got shout out to Donald Trump, to Anderson Cooper. The people don't trust you. During CNN interview, Donald Trump straight up called him out, said the people don't trust you. That's why CNN has to constantly run shows. Prime time they're running, you know, like Forensic Files in the 70s. prime time when you would think people would be tuning in to watch the news on CNN. CNN is playing Anthony Bourdain, parts unknown. He's traveling the world eating food, and they're talking about the 70s and all this, and they got the O.J. Simpson thing up there again. Do you know why? Because their ratings are failing. The alternative media is killing them. Nobody believes them anymore. Now they got to turn into a reality TV show just to try to keep some of the advertising dollar. Good job to everybody in the alternative media. Kicking ass. Anyway, shout out to Donald Trump for that one. But for the people who think that Donald Trump's going to save the day, you know, it's my opinion he's one of them just as much as the rest of them. He's Donald Trump. You don't think he wasn't in the club a long time ago? In my opinion, what you're watching right now is just entertainment. Because the notion that Donald Trump is going to get in the White House and actually change something, let me give you a shout out to Rod Blagojevich, uncensored. Anybody remember what happened to Rod when he stood up to Bank of America? December 8th, 2008. He told Bank of America, the state of Illinois is not going to do business with you if you don't help these people by giving them some of the bailout money that you receive from the federal government. Well, what happened on December 9th, 2008? You have to pull up the video and check it out. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't crooked. Maybe he was, but that's just an amazing coincidence. 24 hours after he called out the banksters, he was in federal custody. So do you think Donald Trump's going to come into the White House and start changing things? I guess we can remain hopeful. But I think we all know in our hearts we're way beyond that point. You know, we're just waiting for everybody else to catch up, I guess. Anyway, tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts on everything going on. The theater shooting. Was it real? Was it a hoax? I have no idea, but, you know, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Rahm Emanuel, Mr. Mayor of the most dangerous city in America. Please rate the report. Please pass it around. Make people aware of what's going on. You know, you can also follow me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter for live show alerts, breaking news alerts, new upload alerts, always posted over there. As soon as they're up, those links are always at the bottom. Another week of craziness, and I'm all tongue-tied, and I can't say anything I want to say the right way. It's all the caffeine. I tell you, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You guys take care, stay safe. I will see you on the next one.